Welcome to the human element. In this video, the center theme will be capacity. And this center theme for this video pairs very well with my first video on sustainability. And it also pairs very well with the video that I've done on the plateau and some of the conceptualizations that I attempted to flesh out in the plateau will be further fleshed out in addition with the capacity. Right now, I'm drinking some soursop tea, and I got like a ginger tea bag mixed in there with it. And I have a rope. So yeah, it's real green over here. It's real green on these sides. It's real green. All right, capacity. Don't want to waste your time. Conceptualizations of growth are what I am focusing on, and capacity, as I initially started off the human element describing, I'm quite sure capacity is overlooked when it comes to the approach of growth, because growth is seen or hastily assumed to be primarily or solely contrived of the addition of things, when capacity is more so in related to the removal of things which stifle. Both the removal of things that are stifling and the addition of things that are truly valuable. Those are the two ends of the pole as far as I am intuitively describing it to be. Those are the two ends of the pole. When one is limited with a conceptualization that only holds space for the addition of things, they frequently run into moments in their life where they plateau. Plateaus are not an end. They are an indication. And depending on how you respond to that indication determines whether or not you gain yield from it or you lose yield. Yield is in relation to potential, and potential is extracted. Potential extracted and met is potential realized, and potential realized is power. We are all capable. We all have potential. I see frequent stiflings caused by rigid attachments to greed, the endless collection and accumulation of things that are deemed to be desirable in the moment. Such ideologies, in their lack of sophistication as it pertains to humanity, are losing their hold. That is not a bad thing. It could very well be perceived to be a bad thing if you don't have the capacity to view things on different levels. Now, there's a difference between taking actions to gain the capacity to do a thing and the capacity to do a thing. Trying to think of some themes to pull on right now. Give me a second. This is all on the spot. So yeah, growth is something that is actually an art. Growth is an art form. And it's an art form because, well, a lot of things actually, being that the way my mind is wired, would be described as an art form. Because as an alchemist, I understand that two extremes are two ends of the pole of the same bar. It's the same bar, different ends of the pole. Same bar. The application and its effects, they shift, but they still remain related to the ends of the pole. So how do you increase your capacity? I'm really going to combine human experiences of struggle and triumph. For me to do this, I don't really need to do much. All I need to do is create an effective set of themes that make a point, which is something that I excel at doing. And then one thing that I really would like to be a theme for the human element is to figure it out. Because we're in the age of information. And if you learn to look at things with different kinds of eyes, you can gain different kinds of data. And if you gain different kinds of data, you can open yourself to be capable of accessing different aspects of data. If you don't know yourself well enough, you wouldn't know that you have a domain, and relative to your domain, you have things that are genuinely your core weaknesses. And you would sense that you have a lower capability of doing those things. Without the knowledge of self, approaching those things, trying to create some sort of lasting victory, is near impossible. Very difficult. There is a system that any man, woman, being, I'm going to keep it to the human right now. There is a system that any human can implement, being that they have a mental framework that is subject to change. Knowing ourselves allows ourselves to approach our mechanisms in a way that's realistic, so that when we want to make change within ourselves, we have realistic change. To give yourself a better chance of making realistic change, you have to gain real knowledge on your mechanics. And the truth is, humans are very sophisticated machines. And the sophistication happens because humans happen on multiple levels. I am particularly emboldened during these times. I've come to find that after a largely reclusive lifestyle and fighting myself to increase my capacity to engage with the world. Well, there's a number of emotions that I have to the fact that from the parts of the world that I have come in contact with, it seems to be rare, the accumulation of knowledge, abilities, and aims that I have. I think more so the aims are more rare than anything. I'm not wired to be motivated by the things that motivate the majority, or at least the majority that I've come in contact with. I need more exposure. That is known. What is also known is that I am extremely capable. And part of that capability has to do with the fact that I've spent almost my entire life crafting a philosophy of growth. Because I understand nuance. I understand that there are some things that I have systematized within myself as far as behaviors and responses to particular threats and inquisitions. I lost my train of thought. I'm going to get better at that too. Because I see people speak and they're like, I remember the last thing I said and I remember the train of thought that I had. And I'm like, still working on that a little bit. Just a little bit. Where was I going? Where was I going with that? But yeah, I come to find that I'm really good at growing. And I've reached a stage of my development where I realized my natural inclination towards growth is something that conflicts with the pillars upon which normal relationships are founded upon. That's a lot of words to say most people don't like the truth. But also at the human element, I realize I have the ability to frame things in a different way. And that ability is what makes me so effective at what I do. I have to take these little steps, and the human element has been a faithful step after step, trusting past iterations of myself and the things that they overcame that would contribute to something that I would call confidence. For me to gain confidence, I need real data, or at least that's what my mental framework is rested upon. I don't accept data that isn't real. What do I mean by that? Well, there's the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Of course, consciously, I could look you in the face and nod, or even when you make a motion towards some sort of group centered activity or venture, I could be silent and you could take that as agreeance. And that would all be on a conscious level. But as far as my subconscious, fortress, impenetrable. Maybe not impenetrable, but definitely inconquerable. Like, yeah, if you try really hard through whatever means that yeah, I'm not aware of, I won't say it's not possible. But if you do manage to get past the walls, I don't think you'll be getting anything that you want to get. And I'm speaking from a capacity. I'm speaking from a life where I've challenged myself along different lines in different aspects. And I didn't leave those aspects until I really felt that I learned something that I can incorporate into my behavior. Metaphorically speaking, I can consider this as a kind of environmental training. I want to survive in a desert. I want to survive in a winter storm. I want to survive in a sandstorm. I want to survive underground, subterra. I want to be able to live in the sky. I have to be able to survive underwater. And when I say all these things, I'm saying this with the understanding that to reach the maximum capacity of all these things is not only not realistic, but not necessary. I'm only interested in increasing my capacity along these aspects to the degree to which when I feel that I have progressed enough, then I am satisfied. This is something that I'm coming to realize is how I can love myself. Because I believe I can hit a high mark. Even now, this YouTube channel, The Human Element, I have already stated throughout different episodes that I was going through periods of turbulence, emotional instability. However, I understand myself well enough to know that I have enough tools to keep myself on the right general track while I allow myself to unravel that which has not been honored. So now, where does that take me? It takes me to where I am now. I had a period of time, many months, to where I did not post any videos. And I'm sure during that time, because this YouTube channel is fairly new and I'm not really caring about the views at this point because I have a master plan. And as I said before, this is a preemptive strike. So the views at this particular point in time don't really concern me. This is the phase. And I have a master plan, many phases, and I have all these phases. And what are these phases derived around? Well, they're derived around my personal growth. And they're derived around the parts of myself that I know I need to work on. And I know that I have the capacity to address at this moment. The words that I just said, if you understand them, you could extract to understand that there is a way to engage mindfully to avoid burnout at every wake and turn. Well, if we're going to outline capacity and growth, and we're also going to reiterate that just as greed, the accumulation of what considers to be valuable, is a mindset, so is mitigation, the subtracting of a minus. And you could take that very universal mindset and you could use that to optimize the way that you handle different aspects of self. For instance, I have a warrior aspect. 2 years ago, I'm sure that was the time, I was in a period of my life to where I was addressing my discomfort with my warrior aspect. And so how did I navigate this? Well, I'm an intense guy, and my approach was simple. I'm going to try to destroy, eradicate, and obliterate this warrior inclination within me. If it disappears, then it wasn't really a core element of mine. And that means that whatever I am, it certainly doesn't hold the characteristics of a warrior. But that didn't happen. What wound up happening was my warrior aspect reinforced itself against my attempts to alter that which was natural. After I realized that my warrior side wasn't going anywhere, what did I do? I changed the tactic. I know myself very well. I've spent time cultivating internal discipline and dominion over my conscious and subconscious mind. I have much work to do still. Though I have blasted past a great majority. And so, now that I understand eradicating warrior spirit is not the way to go. If it was the way to go, either way, the capacity is increasing, right? Because the warrior spirit was burning within me and it didn't need to burn within me, then I would release the warrior spirit and I wouldn't have to deal with the burning. But the integration of the warrior spirit didn't come through its obliteration or its disintegration or its neglect. It came through intuitively accepting the fact that since it could not be destroyed, it was a part of me. So now I'm moving forward with a new thesis. At some point, you will realize science and spirit are not so separate, and that the two should be intertwined and actually belong together, being that they share ethics and allow expansion. "26 minutes. I want to end this at 30. So I have to make a point. I'm getting better at making points with my own experience now as well. And I feel that that would also greatly help the impact of the human element, my own personal experience. So now fast forward 2 years from the point to which I tried to destroy my warrior spirit. And I made certain steps and certain navigations, and yeah, I'm tapped in now. So the warrior has been allocated to the part of my framework that I feel best suits my framework. So how does that play out? The way that plays out is I have the capacity to start a video, drink tea, wake up in the morning after I called off work because I didn't feel like going, because I got it like that. Also understanding that if I was choosing not to go to work, and then I had the capacity to put out input so that I could gain in the future, like I have the capacity to put an output of energy. If I'm not gonna do that physically, I choose to do that here. But I couldn't be able to choose to do that here, to make points, to bring together a set of themes, to unlock that which binds people. I wouldn't have the courage, the understanding of self. I wouldn't have the energy to make this video if 2 years ago I didn't at least challenge my warrior spirit. I didn't know the relationship between myself and my warrior spirit. And this is where I'm trying to bring everything together too, is that until you face yourself, you don't know how to place yourself, because you just don't know how your mechanisms work on the different levels that you actually happen on. Because we're all happening on multiple levels. So, if I didn't at least try to destroy my warrior spirit, I would have never learned that I couldn't destroy my warrior spirit. And I would have never learned that I am a warrior. And if I never learn that I am a warrior in some aspect, then showing up in the way that I'm showing up now, and the way that I will evolve into progressing forward, simply wouldn't be possible. And now this goes back to yield, because what is yield? Well, very generally, it's just that. It's value extracted, or potential value extracted. Like, what is the yield? Either that, or the definition would be like the one when you're driving, which means to pay attention, right? We're not talking about that. Talking about the yield from the field. So not only is the action that I've taken as far as a scientific approach to my spirit beneficial for me, but it's polarizing to anyone who benefits from the video. So now I ask, how much yield can you actually calculate from freeing yourself up? How much yield can you lay out? How much of it can you solidify as definitely going to come to fruition? It's in the air. And if it's in the air, that means there's a lot that not only I don't know I can do, there's a lot that you don't know you can do. We don't know all that we can do. How smart is it for an intellectual civilization to remain operating within limited capacities? If you were more capable, there would be a higher yield. And there's not a reason to try to specify any particular thing from the yield. Truthfully, I'm going to wrap this up by saying we don't know what's valuable. Value has to be sought. Value is assumed. That's what I'm seeing today. Value is assumed with the feeling of desire. Because I desire it, it must be valuable. But then there's a critical impact when it comes to desire and its ability to flesh out what is valuable, and fear. Because if I'm too afraid to do the work that's necessary to get the yield, then I'm not learning anything real as it pertains to me and how I operate on many different levels. I went past 30 minutes. I'll try to do 40. So there's a lot of yield loss. And that has been a thing. That has been a thing that up until this point in human development has caused a susceptibility to unnecessary problems with solvable solutions, very solvable solutions. Very solvable problems, sorry. Very solvable problems. And solvable problems are hard to address when the ideology that is considered normal and standard descends into moral decay, in which the people who claim to have good virtues still inevitably find themselves with a set of ideologies that add to greed, and also harbor a set of beliefs and inherited viewpoints which demonize the capacity for mitigation, which is a center point of capacity. So in normal, we literally have anti-growth, because you could very well just label something as minimalism, attribute it to some sort of desired lifestyle, as opposed to a functional core pillar of growth and advancement itself. Not just human development, just for anything to develop at all, consciously. Mitigate. Because we're animals, but what separates us is our abstractions. We can project and extract. We can project and extract, receive and protrude. All of that gives us the capacity to be delusional, to be murderous, to be narcissistic, to be evil, to plan against humankind and its development. And it also affords the opposite, right? It affords us the ability to abstract sets and themes that stabilize anything we want. For this particular instance, I'm using my capacity for abstraction combined with my very varied accumulation of knowledge to make a point. A point to me that's very obvious, but I'm a rare person. So I have to readjust what it means, what obvious means for me, right? Now I'm learning about myself as it pertains to the world, as I'm continually exposing myself. And I'm like, oh, I am a minority on a very big level. So that means what's obvious to me has to be treated in a more conscious manner relative to who I am, which is not average. So that is also growth. That understanding increases my capacity. Because now that I know myself enough to know that I am definitely not average, there's no reason for me to get emotionally flustered about things that are obvious to me. Because I'm an alien. I am from way out there. you know, way out there. So this video with the center theme of capacity, that's our word for the day. It helps us mitigate the amounts of times that we plateau simply from engaging with the things that affect us on multiple levels consciously, everything as far as growth is concerned, I'm trying my best to create a wheel here. And I'm definitely going to end this at 45, 100%. I'm trying to create a wheel here. And this wheel is comprised of, it eats itself. The capacity, you add, you subtract. You could subtract something that is of value, and that would be considered a bad thing. And you could add something that is not compatible with the ethic of the framework that you're trying to build something upon. And that would be considered a bad thing. And you can also flip these. You can add something that is of actual benefit to your framework. But you have to really address your framework to know what your framework is. Like, what is your framework? I can't tell you that. I know my framework very well, and even if I went on this whiteboard and laid it out for you, I'd be wasting time. I'd be falling outside the ethic of the human element, which is that we all have our individual domain, and we're supposed to be finding with whatever tickles our fancy through a combination of exposure and introspection to flesh out what the dimensions of our internal framework really are, as opposed to just simply saying that's just how people are. Men ain't shit, women ain't shit, human nature is blah blah blah. I'll start wrapping it up with this. From an intuitive, introspective genius, I will tell you, human nature is whatever humans claim it to be. Because we have the capacity to abstract and assume positions based on our abstractions. Which means that whatever you want to call anything humans do are delusional. Everything we do is delusional. It's all madness. It's all madness. It's all chaos. I love you. You have the capacity to do more. And doing more isn't always in the form of doing more. Sometimes it's addressing truly on the deepest level the things that are holding you back and finding which approach to deal with those things. Some of those things need love, and some of those things need fire. Figure out which one it needs and apply appropriately. I love you. I hope you plateau less and we keep rising. But if you plateau, just, take some rest too. Bye. Love you.